Welcome to episode 58 of Inside Deschutes County. Whether you're on the go, at home, or just looking for something new to listen to, thanks for making us a part of your day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast app or stream every episode anytime at deschutes.org/podcast.
Deschutes County is an amazing place to live,
Ease of access.
work, and play.
Great place to raise a family.
I love the weather and the high
At
desert.
Deschutes County, we provide excellent service.
Beautiful.
We're here to help you.
Deschutes County is the heart of Oregon.
Everyone wants to be here.
Welcome to the Inside Deschutes County podcast. We're so glad you're with us today. I'm Eric Breon. Well, today we're talking about one of the biggest projects happening in downtown Bend. You've probably seen it, the Deschutes County Courthouse expansion. Construction well underway, probably getting a little close to the finish line. We'll let them explain all the milestones. This new space will add courtrooms, improve security, and make it easier for our growing community to access justice. We have a full house on hand to walk us through where things stand, what lies ahead. I'm joined by Presiding Judge Wells Ashby, Facilities Director Randall, and I hope I'm getting Eric's title right. Capital Improvement Manager, I believe is the title. Did I get that right, Eric?
That's right.
All right. Welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Each of you brings a very different perspective to this project. Let's start with an update kind of on where things stand right now. So Lee, I'm going to kick it over to you. What are crews doing right now in this process? Where are we? What's kind of and Eric, you can chime in too, obviously. You're smack dab in the middle of this project too. Where are we?
Yeah, at a high level, we just reached a major milestone in topping out the structure, and crews are now working on infilling the framing around the exterior of the building. Structural work is nearly complete, and then we have all of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing trades hard at work at the interior of the building. Coming up, we're looking toward dry-in late this fall, early winter, so that we can begin other interior work that's more moisture sensitive. So Eric might have a little more detail that he can add.
Yeah, just this week, well, today, in fact, they started early on some of the remodel work in the existing courthouse. That scope of work was initially planned to be started after the expansion was complete, but through working with Pence contractors, we've got a jump on that so that we can lessen the impact of the renovations towards the end of the project.
Because this is not just the build of the new building. You're having to do some work on the old building too.
Yeah,
Right.
some. Yeah.
Some?
Yep. Where the existing public service counters are, that'll be remodeled into a new hearing room, and then some admin spaces next to that. And where the hearing room is downstairs, that'll just go back to being part of the jury assembly room.
This is exciting stuff. Your team, Judge Ashby, must be super excited to see this take shape.
We're thrilled. You know, from a layman's perspective, it's starting to actually look like a building. And, you know, what we see is a commitment to justice that will serve this community well into the future. It's an expensive project. Capital projects are expensive. And we're very protective of public tax dollars. And we think the county's made it a wise investment in the future of justice for Deschutes County.
What was it like when it really started to take shape? Like maybe it was the roof or the top of it, you know, kind of getting topped off. Did you notice staff like getting a little more excited? I noticed there was some not siding, but like part of I don't know what you call it. It almost looked like sheetrock, but probably not sheetrock.
It's the exterior sheathing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Exterior sheathing. I saw that was starting to go up.
Yeah.
So was there something in particular where everybody was like, "Oh, here we go. It's getting real."
I think for me, and I'm probably too attached to the project, but the first time I saw something actually going vertical, you know, some of the steel, but for the staff, you can see where there's going to be windows. You can see the floors. Like I said, it's starting to look like a building, and now I think it's becoming real to, court users, the attorneys, our staff. and that's really exciting.
So what has to happen next? I mean, we still got a crane in downtown Bend. I mean, I imagine that's got to come down here pretty quickly.
Well, we're excited to see it come down. Cranes have a way of attracting attention to projects that isn't always positive, but so it will take a little more patience from our community members. We'll be closing Bond Street for a Friday and a Monday. Eric's team has worked closely with Judge Ashby's team to coordinate that and to have as little impact to court operations as possible. But it's a big deal to take down a crane of that size. Eric has some background and information on the process involved.
On the crane front.
Yeah, on the removal. So we did submit a permit with the city to close Bond Street September 12th through the 15th.
It's coming up.
The reason being is that we have to bring in a mobile crane in order to take down the tower crane. When the tower crane was constructed, there was a parking lot where the expansion is now, so they could assemble it out of the right-of-way. But now that the expansion's built, they're going to have to lift the tower crane in pieces over the expansion down into Bond Street.
And that's for people at home listening. That's the area right in front of the courthouse, the old courthouse, where the parking.
Yeah,
Right, a lot of where the parking spots are, right?
It'll be
The street parking.
starting at Greenwood, going north on Bond, so along the construction fencing, and then into a portion of the parking.
Is there a celebration for when this crane comes down? What's the party?
It may just be a party. I don't know. You're invited. Maybe it could be the four of us just celebrate.
There we go.
Just something
There we
small
go.
scale.
Yeah. Judge Ashby, from your side, how are you preparing staff for the transition? Because this is going to be a transition for your team, because you've kind of, for a little background, came into being because 2 new judges came to be, or were, I don't know, is it assigned, or you can give us some perspective on that, but 2 new judges for Deschutes County, and they've been kind of shoehorned in there, and now you'll be able to breathe. So what is kind of the transition process for that?
Yeah, so you hit on something really important, right? We added 2 judges. The legislature gave 2 judges to Deschutes, which is really unheard of. Usually it's 1 judge at a time. We were underjudged, and so now we're right around where our capacity should be. But really it's been, 10 pounds in a 5-pound box, right? You can't expect the county to expand the courthouse and just say, well, we hope we get judges in the future. So we had to get the judges first, check that box. And, we're blessed with a county and a state that agreed to fund this project. But, you can't just go down to, a box store and buy a courthouse. So, it takes time. What I've told people is, the dirt, the dust, and the noise is, it's music to my ears. A lot of other districts and counties would love to. It's a good problem to have, because it's a sign that there is a commitment to justice, in Central Oregon, in Deschutes County. For the staff, I think there's some people manage change differently. And so nearly all of the staff will be migrating into that new space. And so instead of being compartmentalized in different courtrooms and areas, they're all going to be together. It's a much different look. It's a much more modern look for a larger court. If you went up to Multnomah County, you'd see similar formats. So it works well, but is it going to look and feel different? Yeah, for sure.
Because right now you're having to share courtrooms.
Right,
so
for sure.
You'll get your, I don't know if you're sharing now, but are you sharing now?
I do. I have, Judge McKeever, she likes to say I'm sharing with her.
Okay.
And so,
we'll get her on next.
We joke around about this, but I don't view my courtroom as my courtroom. It's a community courtroom. It's a county property. I just happen to spend a lot of time there, but Judge McKeever, Judge Harriet have been very patient in terms of moving around to the different courtrooms and toting their stuff and getting used to the different configurations. So it'll be nice to have everybody in a space so we can get a routine and really deliver our services to the community.
Beyond the bricks and mortar, though, how do you think that this will change, how people experience justice in Deschutes County?
I think it's going to be much different. There's a lot of thought that went into the design. There's going to be natural light in nearly every corner of this new building. People come into the courthouse, they have experienced trauma, they're under stress, whether it's a speeding ticket or a homicide case. Court can be an emotionally stressful place, and so this will be a much more inviting space. Studies show that the natural light is incredibly helpful for court users. Signage will be much better. So I think the lived experience of the people we're trying to serve, the court users, the attorneys, will be much better. There will be more meeting spaces so people can have private conversations with clients. Yeah.
Judge Ashby talked on a couple of those things, lighting and signage and things like that. Eric Lee, are there other features to this building, technology maybe, of things that people can look for that's, maybe makes this building a little different than other buildings across the county or other courthouses across the state for that matter?
I think on the technology side, the court has invested in updated technology as part of this expansion and will be in existing courtrooms as well. So that will be an improvement, less downtime due to repairs, and probably a better functioning system. There'll be things like related to natural light, lighting controls and lighting throughout that are both cost savings in terms of sustainability measures, as well as being more pleasant for the person experiencing the courtroom. One area that Eric has done a great job of coordinating is the interface between the construction team and our long-term maintenance team. And so we've been conducting monthly site walks. There's no replacement for maintenance guys seeing how a wall goes together as it goes together, and having a sense of where plumbing lines go, how electrical conduit is routed, beyond just looking at it on a page. So that has been, I think, probably in the projects that I've been involved with at the county, I think we've had the most extensive coordination between the maintenance team and the design team and construction team. It started early in design with Eric, with his architectural skills, doing page turns with our maintenance team, taking that information back to the design team to make changes, to incorporate their input. And then as well, we had a maintenance person assigned to the project from design up through now, who spent more time as part of the process and sat in on design meetings specifically for HVAC. That's one area, just to highlight one area for the project. HVAC systems have a big impact on court proceedings. So court proceedings are recorded. We have to be concerned about vibration and sound more so than in any other regular commercial building. And so a lot of thought and input from our team went into that with the designers. But we also wanted to make sure that the final system was not only cost effective to install, but also to operate and to maintain, and it would have a long life. So that's just one area, kind of more in the bones of the building, where a lot of thought and intention went into the process.
Go ahead.
Too, a really important feature, I think, of this courthouse design was a concept called future proofing. So you say, okay, we're putting out this big number to build this building. Are we going to have to build another one in 5 years? And so, what was decided was that we would add a third chambers, and that's going to be on the second floor. So if the county has to go back, and we have to go back, OJD, the Judicial Department, and say we need another judge for Deschutes, we already have the space. We have the judicial chambers, and that really gets the legislature's attention. So it's not, hey, we need a judge and $20 million to build some space for the judge.
We're ready.
And that's right. We are ready, and we can take a picture of it and say, this judge will be in this room. The other decision that the county made, which I think is incredibly wise, was to add a third floor and to box it out and shell it out, because you only get one shot at that, and you're always paying for the roof. So adding that additional floor, while expensive, isn't nearly as expensive as building a new building. So this is really a value investment, that future proofing, to say, hey, this will serve this county for decades to come.
For a growing community.
Absolutely.
I mean, growing quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. Eric, what I don't know the biggest projects that you've done in your career. This, I'm guessing, is a pretty big project that you've had to work through. What have been some of the biggest challenges to this effort that you've found? Obviously, budget's always one, but what surprises have you come across, either the support or the challenges from, weather or things like that in terms of this project?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges is actually kind of the footprint around the expansion. This project's getting built tight to property lines, so design-wise, there's not a lot of room on site for changes or for I guess there's no room for mistakes, right? Everything's right to the property line. And then part of that too is working through the right-of-way design, the infrastructure that's owned by the city that we have to improve and follow their guidelines. So there's been a lot of effort from the design team and the contractor to work through the requirements in the right-of-way, and just giving it a lot of thought.
I know you go so far as to mock this out, right, to make sure everything works.
Yeah.
The right flooring, the right windows,
so we've actually done 2 mock-ups. Initially, we did a full-scale mock-up of the courtroom out at the fairgrounds, using kind of quick build materials that the contractor could construct, and then we walked the state courts, attorneys from town, Deschutes County Sheriff's Office, court security, so they could experience what the courtroom space would be like before it was built and make changes on the fly. And then, we are doing an exterior mock-up that shows all the different siding and window and roofing materials so that we can get it right first before it goes onto the main building.
Judge, what's that first day going to be like when it opens for you? I mean, you've been here a little bit to be able to see the transitions, right? And,
I've been here for a little bit. That's
Yeah.
right. It's just going to be really exciting for the community, right? And obviously I get pretty excited about justice and the law, but we like being an anchor tenant downtown. We like being part of downtown. What I tell people is, I want justice to be visible, whether or not people ever go into that building or not. That is where these things are happening. It's not out in some distant place they've never been. It's in the heart of downtown. And just am so humbled by the commitment of the legislature, of the county, to see the importance of the peaceful resolution of disputes in our community. And this really represents, in a very real way, that commitment, and we're just honored by it.
Lee, Judge Ashby was talking about, just this being a major investment for the community. And one of the hardest things to do is to balance the budget as to, how do you keep it on schedule? How do you keep the dollars in line? How can you speak to that a little bit in terms of,
Well, first, I thought this was a conversation among friends. I didn't know you were going to
well,
really go there.
I think there's a lot of
Yes.
maybe miscommunication out there as to where the money comes from, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I think kind of touching a little bit as to how this project came to be is an important thing to talk about a little bit in terms of how you manage that, because it's such a big project and you're navigating a lot of different angles to this.
Yeah, so overall for construction, $46.8 million, and that is a significant investment by our community and the state legislature. And that's a combination of contributions from the state legislature, $16.5 million toward construction itself, the county investing $20.5 million in bond proceeds, plus plus interest and reserves and other funding from county sources. And then beyond that, the state is also investing in furniture and equipment, the audio and technology that we talked about earlier. So from a budget perspective, these have been challenging times to construct, coming out of COVID with inflation and other challenges in the construction environment. But again, to to follow up on Judge Ashby's comments, the commitment by both our Board of County Commissioners, our state legislatures, the legislators, the folks that represent us from Central Oregon specifically, has been not only invaluable, but to the point where the project could not move without that support, and that's made all the difference. And in the end, it's been a long process, and there have been challenges along the way, but everyone has really come together to get us to this point. And from a budget perspective, we've been providing monthly updates to the Board of County Commissioners, and things are running smoothly at this point. And we're moving forward. We're hitting our milestones. We're confident that the budget is sufficient and is going to carry us through.
I know you've talked about some of the milestones, but let's dig in specifically. What are the big? We talked about the crane coming down, but what are the next big steps that you're looking forward to? Eric, I'll throw that one at you.
Well, I can give the end game, then I'll let Eric fill in some of the points that we'll be crossing to get there. But March 27th of 2026 is our substantial completion for the expansion. After that date, there'll be a period of time to set up the courtrooms and offices to actually be used, and that'll be a significant amount of time. We're still working through a final open date and occupancy date for the courts, but that would likely be late spring, early summer of 2026 once we've actually commissioned and set up the building. And then the remodel will take a few more months, and we'll be wrapping up in late summer of 2026. So that's kind of the overview of where we're headed. And there are a lot of milestones between now and then that Eric can share.
Yeah, I think the biggest milestone will be getting the building dried in. So now that the roof structure is completed, they can start working on parapet framing and getting the roof system installed. And then the fence contractors has already started framing the exterior walls as the structure's been going up, all with that goal of trying to get dried in this fall. There also, another big milestone is, as the structure has gone up, they've kind of been backfilling the spaces, getting mechanical, electrical, plumbing roughed in, and just working their way up through that building. So it's really kind of a phased process where all the kind of guts of the building go in, and then you move into the finishes.
Is there a part of this project you're most proud of? That's a big question.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of navigating all the ins and outs, and I'll even pose that same question to you, because it's really interesting to me that you're building an add-on, an expansion to a courthouse that's operational. It's still working, and you're having to navigate. You moved security, you moved, the parking went away. Are there things, aspects to this project that you're proud of your staff, that you're proud of your teams, that you're proud of the work that you did individually?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the team that we have is a great team from, within the county, state courts. The design team's done really well to coordinate with the contractor, and it's the relationship has stayed really positive throughout the project, I think, among all those parties. And so I think I'm just most proud that it's a pretty high-functioning team in order to get the project complete.
Going back to the early part of the project where I was most involved, I think I'm really proud of our work with state court staff and judges, Deschutes County Sheriff's Office, and the project teams. There was a lot of time dedicated by Judge Ashby and others on his team to allow or give the opportunity for the design team to understand what their needs were. For me, being on the facilities side, kind of the most disappointing thing for me in a project is to get to the final version and you're opening, and you have the person who does the work every day sit down at a desk and say, oh, well, I don't think this is going to work, or that switch is in the wrong place.
Right.
And I don't put that on the end user. I put that on us as a facilities team trying to facilitate the
There's
process.
some pressure there, Lee.
There is. Yeah, that's the last thing we want to have happen. And there are some things that are unavoidable because essentially we're building, this is a completely custom courthouse. It's never been built before. Every construction project remodel is a one-off. And so that only happens, though, if the final users of the building also buy into committing that time, because it takes time. It takes a lot of sitting around at a conference room table, looking at conceptual plans, talking about what your final goals are. And so the amount of time that sheriff's office staff, state court staff, facility staff spent hashing through all those details. Without that time, you don't end up with a project that is going to kind of run trouble-free. So,
Judge Ashby, how are they doing?
They're doing fantastic. The word I would use is gratitude. I told them early on, the only thing I know how to build is a sandwich. And we've been together. We've interviewed all of the, we went through all the RFPs, interviewed the firms. So this has really been, in a very real sense, working together from the ground up. And from the court side, we're blessed with great relationships with justice partners. And to have the sheriff there, to have these great relations with the county, to have so much trust, to be able to have open conversations and, learn from each other, it's just a blessing. I've really enjoyed. My favorite part will be just being part of the whole process and seeing it come together, having that input, really learning from the experts and trusting your team. And I think we have the right people working on this. I think we're going to have an amazing finished product.
And a follow-up to that, just kind of the question that I asked them, what are you proud of with your team? Obviously, the flexibility's got to be pretty high up there for how they've kind of managed the situation in terms of shoehorning people in or adjusting their routines, things like that.
Yeah, so, we're going a little bit more up-tempo in terms of talking to people about what's happening next, what that's going to look like, right? Preparing for that change. And, we have staff who are really committed to our mission. We're a pretty unique law firm. And so just saying like, hey, this is inconvenient. This may be scary. This may be a little bit noisy. Look at what this is going to do for our community, and you're a part of that. And, I tell people, I'm like, I don't know how to do any other job in this building. And I can't perform my judicial function unless I have this amazing staff. And so it's really, keeping the staff excited about it. Sure, change. People approach it with some trepidation, but it's really, hey, we are blessed. We're blessed.
That's pretty cool to hear. You got to like hearing that a little bit.
yeah, and it's mutual. I mean, I can't think of any group I'd rather work with than, our state circuit court. And so every time we meet to talk about the project or work on details, those are the meetings that are highlights that I look forward to. And it's a great way to come to work, actually.
A couple other things. One, I mean, you talked about it building up. It's also building down too, right?
Yeah, it is. We'll have some underground, so to speak, or garden level secure parking that helps our parking situation. As you know, we have campus-wide parking plan, and any inventory that we can gain is helpful. And so we actually end up with a net gain in parking related to the building. Our on-street parking will be adjusted a little bit, but as far as parking on county property. So yeah, there's some important structures that help the overall function of the building that are at that ground level on Harriman's side.
And Sallyport, part of that?
Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I mean, when you look at the renderings, it looks like a beautiful structure. Like it's going to be all landscaped. And so can you give us a little idea as to what people can expect once the fences come down?
Sure, yeah. So you mentioned the Sallyport and the below-grade parking. That'll be entered off the Harriman side. And then as you go around onto Greenwood, we'll have kind of wider sidewalks than were there before with street trees and then planters along the building. those planters wrap around to the main entrance of the building. And that one of the big changes too from the way the courthouse was before is with the new entry, they'll have a much wider sidewalk, more of a kind of plaza area out front along Bond Street. And then rather than queuing outside as they did previous, there's room inside of the new lobby for people to queue before they go into the security. So the entrance into the courthouse will be vastly improved.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Kind of the user experience when they walk in the door. That's probably the thing they'll notice the most, I would imagine.
Yeah.
That and signs and
Right.
things like that.
Yeah, and that structure will be different from the main expansion structure. It's called cross-laminated timber. So the roof will be exposed cross-laminated timber with heavy timber columns that support that roof. So it'll be a much more natural feeling in the lobby than it was previous.
So what's the hard fast date? Come on, give me
Substantial
one.
completion, hard fast day is March 27th, 2026.
March 27th.
Yeah. We have some coordination beyond that to get to the opening date.
That's
And
quick.
We'll be
It's coming up.
working hard on that. Yes.
That's coming up.
And I'll just add on the entrance, that user experience starts at the street. And right now, there's not a lot of gathering area there. And so for folks coming or leaving court, having that kind of decompression space, either when you're exiting or entering, I think is really important. And that's one thing that the design team was able to create, and that we were able to coordinate with the city of Bend on the right-of-way work. So that is a result of a really great working relationship with the city of Bend as well.
Well, great conversation. Thank you for sharing your experiences and the information. I think people have a lot of curiosity about that because, as you said, it's smack dab. It's an anchor in downtown Bend, and you can't miss it. So thanks for taking the time to walk us through the progress, what still lies ahead, the impact on your team. I know listeners will appreciate learning how this really impacts our community. So thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A big thanks to Presiding Judge Wells Ashby, Facilities Director Lee Randall, and Eric Nielsen for joining us and sharing their insights. If you'd like to follow the project, see renderings, or check on upcoming milestones, you can find all of that information at Deschutes.org/courthouse expansion. We'll keep updating that page as construction moves forward. A friendly reminder, you can find Inside Deschutes County on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or stream episodes anytime at Deschutes.org/podcast. But until next time, we hope you're safe out there.